It's important employers and workers in the construction industry understand their rights and responsibilities. In Minnesota, there are laws in place that cover everything from minimum wage rates to determining independent contractor status in the construction industry. We'll highlight some of the laws construction contractors should be aware of. In residential and commercial construction, there are different rules in place for workers who are construction contractors and own their own businesses versus those who are employees of the contractor who hires them. We encourage anyone who is unsure whether they are an employee or independent contractor to review what is called a 9-factor test, which can be found on our website, and contact us with questions. All building construction contractors are required to hold either a license or contractor registration with the Minnesota Department of Labor and Industry. There are a few exceptions to the law. Licensed contractors and employees of a construction company don't have to register. In the construction industry, a contractor who hires workers to perform building construction must classify them as employees and not contractors, unless the worker meets all 9 factors required to be an independent contractor. If a licensed or registered contractor requires a worker to adopt independent contractor status or form a business entity to obtain work, it is a violation of the law. Construction contractors who hire unregistered contractors as subcontractors rather than employees are breaking the law and could face fines. Also, being a registered contractor does not mean a worker can perform construction work that requires a license, certification, or separate registration. Licenses are strictly required for boiler, electrical, high-pressure piping, plumbing, or residential building contractors. Workers performing this type of work must apply or renew their licenses instead of submitting a contractor registration. There are also unique wage requirements that employers in the construction industry must follow. Much like other industries, employers in the construction industry must follow state, local, and federal minimum wage laws, which can change periodically. If the state or local minimum wage where work is being performed is higher than the federal minimum wage, employers must pay the higher rate. There are also different wage laws for construction projects that are fully or partially funded by the state. For state-funded projects, employers are required to pay workers what's called a prevailing wage. State-funded jobs include projects to construct highways, roads, wastewater treatment plants, public utilities, colleges, schools or parks, and projects for economic development, including housing and private business expansion. The Minnesota Department of Labor and Industry sets the prevailing wage by looking at how much employees in the county, where the construction project is located, are paid for similar work. The prevailing wage rate a worker receives is based on the job performed, which is called a classification of labor. So, someone directing traffic may not receive the same wage as someone operating heavy machinery. Lastly, regardless of an employee's rate of pay, there are also laws in place to make sure workers receive their final paycheck if they quit, are laid off, or fired. Employees who are laid off or fired must receive their final pay within 24 hours of demanding final wages. But there are different rules for those who quit voluntarily. Employers can provide final wages to those who quit voluntarily on their next regularly scheduled payday, as long as it's within 20 days of their last day. If payday falls within 5 days of a person's last day, the employer has until the next pay period to provide final wages. Employees who don't receive their final wages can file a claim with the Minnesota Department of Labor and Industry. And under Minnesota law, employees who do not receive their final pay on time can collect their average daily earnings for every day the employer is late for up to 15 days. Employers and employees in the construction industry must follow these laws. To learn more about labor laws specific to the construction industry, visit our website